UK, in the UK. So today it's tea. A cup of tea. Do you fancy a cup of tea? A cup of tea. Cup of tea. I can't do it. Twinnings. Everyday tea is going to be the beverage of choice today, folks. And yeah, what's up? It's Namm week, and I'm about as far from LA as I could possibly be. But still some cool things to talk about because we brought out some stuff at the show that was exciting. Word up from Minneapolis, says Dan. Who else we got in the house here? What are you guys talking about? We got Jason Wade. We got Kurt. He's here. Will Namm be remembered for its guitars or amps? I don't know. There's some cool stuff I saw come out. I was stoked to see my buddy Leo Scala have a little collaboration with Gibson. I didn't know that was happening because I haven't talked to him for a while. And I guess it was very last minute, but he brought out some signature Masterbuilt Flying V's and stuff. I thought that was kind of neat. And what else did we see from there that was cool? Well, of course, there's the PT-15 we got to talk about. New PT-15, folks. PT-15 non-IR version for all the folks that already have a reactive load or maybe just don't think they would use reactive load. Just want a nice 3-channel amp. A lot of people are asking how much it is. It's $500 less. So I believe that makes it $21.99, I think. So yeah, that makes sense. $21.99. So it's $500 less than the IR version, which puts it in just a little bit over what a Badger at, I think Badgers are $19.95, something like that. So it's it's the price of a pedal more than a Badger, but you get 3 full channels, brights on every channel, true tube buffered effects loop, and all that good stuff. So that's the deal there, and I'm pretty excited about that. And we also brought out a 112 cab with a cream back in it, and matches cosmetically, same Tolex and stuff like that. So fits into the head beautifully. If you want a 112 instead of a 212, you have that option now. Great gig in Portsmouth last night. Your eruption was awesome. So we could talk about the gig I've been doing over here a little bit. That was a comment. Yeah, Portsmouth last night was good. It was a lot of fun. And I've been playing Eruption every night in the set. Because, as some of you guys know, I'm over here playing with this group called the Classic Rock Show. And boy, is it kicking my butt. I'll tell you what, we did 4 gigs straight and 5 days of rehearsal before that, which was about 27 tunes or something like that we learned. All great classic songs. Plus, like things like the Eruption solo and things. And we just had 5 days to get it all together and then go out and start playing 4 shows in a row. So it was 9 days on. I don't think I've ever done anything like that. Like flowing in, the jet lag. I was working in New York for a couple days before that. I don't remember the last time I had a day off. Today I had a day off, and I mostly stayed in bed. But anyways, I don't remember the last time I worked like that. Like flew in, jet lag straight in 5 days rehearsal, and then did 4 shows in a row. It was bonkers. But I'll tell you what, the main reason I took this gig is because I knew it was going to kick my ass. So. Which I felt like I needed as far as live playing goes, because I haven't been gigging enough for the last couple of years, I feel like. I love the gigs that I do, but a lot of the gigs that I do, it's not a ton of gigs. It'll be 3-4 months, say, over in Japan, but we might only do 15 shows in that time. And that's the majority of the live playing that I get in that year, actually. And most of my time is being spent, like, kind of in the studio making videos and stuff like that. And I felt like I got to get out and play. I got to get out and play. I need to do something that's going to make my hands work, because otherwise you just get kind of soft, It's like working out. So in the second set of this show, I have to play. I think we start with War Pigs, and then it goes into Sweet Emotion, and then we do. The portion of the show that really kicks my butt is we play Rosanna. And I play both the solos in that, and then we go right into I mean, it's like Rosanna, Bat Out of Hell, Eruption, Jump, Thunderstruck, Free Bird, all like boom, 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 right after one another. So I have to play, and it's like I barely get a break between songs or to even change guitars or anything like that, and I'm just blasting through it all. So something like Eruption, I'd never played that in front of people actually. Like I'd never done it in front of a crowd, let alone a solid theater crowd with like anywhere from who knows 1,000 to 2,500 or however many people will come to the gigs, something like that. I think Portsmouth last night was about 900 or something like that. So I'd never done it in front of a bunch of people like that. So it was like I was like okay, I need this challenge, and now it's like I'm kind of like no problem. I'm like blasting into it, and it's I mean it's challenging, but it's like I look forward to it actually, and so it's really cool. It's having the intended effect, which is like I needed a little ass kicker, and it's doing it. So hi from Israel, says Ben. Universal Audio Luna. Yeah, I saw that. So they brought out their own DAW and got a bunch of, I believe, virtual instruments and an optional Neve summing and some really cool stuff. That was a neat thing. Oh God, is there a typo on my? I hate when I make there's a typo on the video title, isn't there? You know, I've been making a lot of typos recently when it comes to that stuff, and I'm sorry. And I'll attribute it to I really got to go to the eye doctor, man, and get my I need to get my prescription fixed. I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of read the guy the riot act because my glasses prescription. Yeah, there it is. Okay, let's fix it right now. Edit video. I think I did one a couple weeks ago too, the same thing, and I need to go in and fix that. I just don't catch them because I'm not seeing them, is the honest truth. Okay, all right, fixed it. Should be anyway. In theory. Okay. He doesn't make mistakes where it counts, and that's what matters, says G-Funk. I make lots of spelling mistakes in my videos. Like, if you watch the YouTube videos, there's generally like a typo or something, and I miss it. It's not like I don't go through and look, but I just miss stuff sometimes. So, Robert's checking in. He's on his lunch break. He's working at Sam Ash in Indianapolis. That's cool. The Luna looks great. Yeah, it looks cool. I want to check it out. I only sort of took a cursory glance at what was going on with it, so maybe you guys know more than me, but it does look cool. The difficult thing, no mistakes in that eruption, says G-Funk. Yeah, I try not to screw up the notes, but the spelling sometimes is a problem. The grammar occasionally. Good morning from Olympic Peninsula, says Scott. Sorry, stumbling over my words. Yeah. So, I don't know. Forgot. I lost my train of thought. But anyways. Yes, fixed, refreshed, and title is okay, says Daniel. Good. We got 235 people online. Nice to have you guys here. Probably already asked, are you a little sad to not be at Namm? Yeah. That's a great question. I am. It's a little tough to see everybody because it seems like everybody's having a great time. And Sir texted me and said it's a great show this year. It's really fun. And Brittany texted me and said, of course, like, oh, yeah, it's really fun this year. I'm like, shit. But I'll tell you what. Well, everybody's been at Namm. I played 4 shows in a row over all those Namm days. So it's not like I wasn't playing guitar and gigging. I remember when I was looking, when I took this tour, and I thought, God, that's right over Namm time. And it means I'm not going to be able to go, which kind of bummed me. Then that was back like last August or something. And I thought, well, I'd still be working. And man, was I ever. Like, I was working hard, playing a lot of guitar. So, and I go every year. So, I'll go next year. So, I watched a great video this morning, a great motivational Arnold Schwarzenegger video about don't waste another year. It popped up in my YouTube feed, and it was all about setting goals and how you're just going to kind of float around. And you can have the best car in the world, but if you don't have somewhere to drive, you're just going to end up driving around in circles, And I thought it was really a great video, and he talked a lot about it. I forget sometimes how Arnold, Mr. Universe, and then overcoming challenges with, learning English and things like that, and his accent and stuff, and then becoming a massive movie star in America. And then, of course, his political career, he's done a lot of stuff. So anyway, I really enjoyed watching the video about him setting goals and how um, he sets. He also talked a little bit about little successes, about winning small championships and things like that early on in his bodybuilding career, and how that gave him the motivation to little to. Because I remember Michael Jordan's book where he spoke about uh, little goals, as opposed to that big goal can seem unattainable, whatever it is, but the little successes give you the sort of the perseverance and stuff to know that you can get through to the next thing. So anyways, I need to set some of those for this year, because although I'm doing this tour right now, and I do feel like after that it's a little bit wide open. I need to make so I guess it's a New Year's resolution of sorts or something like that, to get some projects going, some things for later in the year. Get some things booked. I have some ideas. I have an idea about doing with a friend of mine, about doing a studio course over in Japan about recording guitar and maybe recording a whole band. Kind of continuing on my clinic tour that I did in Asia, but actually going into the studio, maybe bringing some musicians in and tracking and talking about, guitar centric, but also bass, drums, and arrangement and stuff like that, and making it a kind of a limited thing where it's only like maybe 8 people and doing it over 2 weekends. Gives me an excuse to go to Japan and hang out, basically. But if we could get 8 people at the studio and do a weekend, and then have the rest of the week off, and then do the next weekend, Friday, Saturday, something like that, and who knows, maybe continue on and do some tour dates or something after that. So I've got ideas like that, but working on it. Your new guitar plays great. You are missed at Namm, says Ben. Oh man, did you go by it? Hey Ben, thanks for being here. Did you go by the booth and check it out? That's awesome. They had a red one and a blue one there, which I was really stoked about. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm saying so much. Mr. Roshan, I think his name is, says, have I got any suggestions on a combo amp with a stereo send and return loop? Can't think of one. Anybody out there know of a stereo? There's not too many stereo combos out there. Bogner had one maybe at one point. Didn't they? Wasn't there like some Bogner amp that had like speakers in the side? This is going back a long time, like maybe at least 10 years ago, where I seem to remember there being an amp that had like a wet dry thing built in that was like a combo. Maybe it was a version of his, like, I think he had one like the Mephisto or something. I can't remember. But man, there's not very many stereo amps out. Seems there are less videos out there from Namm this year. Well, hey, I wasn't there, so I didn't put one out. But I did put out 3 videos this week for the Fender Acoustasonic Tele. Strat, Acoustasonic Strat. The Red Sound cabinet, nice guy that has a full range cabinet that if you've got a Kemper model or something, it's a nice option, or PT100 or PT15, and you want to run the IR output into a full range cabinet at any volume. It's kind of a nice thing. Yeah. Been on Yogi gig last night. Amazing show. As somebody that must be in, my buddy Yogi must be in Croatia. That's cool. Are you in Croatia? Yeah. Pete, you're playing gigs instead of being a gear salesman. That's what I'm talking about, says Glenn. Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the funny thing about me is that I guess what I've done is, somebody's in the top chat there. I'll just answer this and then I'll go back to my thought. Going to New York, and I'm from the UK. If I was to buy a guitar, what's the deal with haggling and what's the sales tax thing? Any tips to buying? You can haggle. I mean, I usually try and kind of make a joke out of it, like give me your "we've gone crazy" price or something. I say, or just make them an offer. If it's if the guitar's tagged at something, say, well, what's the best you can do for me? And then say, well, what if I gave you this? I don't know. Within reason. You can always then walk out the door and say, okay, I'll think about it, and then come back 10 minutes later or whatever. I don't know. But that's really it. I mean, you can always haggle a little bit. And it looks like you're in Wales. So thanks for doing the top chat. I appreciate that. And best of luck and have a good time in New York. Looks like it's kind of cold there right now. So anyway, my thought was, my career is kind of, I started out playing guitar or whatever. But quickly I got jobs in music stores and also teaching, and it's kind of all combined into one now. Where I always wanted to be a player, but I also like the gear, obviously. All gear nerds and hang out here anyway. And I combined it all into a thing that is what you've seen me do, basically. But it's not really that much different than what I used to do when I was 17 or 18. I was working for a music store in Edmonton. I was playing some gigs. I was in bands, and I used to sell pedals and guitars and things in a shop, and then I would also teach lessons at their teaching studio quite a bit. I taught like 30. At the height, I had about 35 students a week. So, 7 a day or something like that, 4 or 5 days a week I was teaching. This is when I was 17 years old. So I kind of somehow combined that all into what I do. And I don't like to do any, like, one more than the other, to be honest. I like to do this stuff, the gear stuff and the videos, and I love it. But it can't be just that. And it's been too much that and not enough gigging in the last few years, I felt like. So I had to put a little bit of emphasis on getting out and playing, because I feel like that's what gives me a little bit of niche in the YouTube world. Even is that I'm a player. Like, I'm a guy that comes. I'm not a YouTuber just. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I am a gigging professional guitar player and did it for many years before and have no desire to stop doing it now. So I had to get a little bit of that in this year, and this seemed like a great opportunity and an ass kicker of a gig. Hey, I mean, it is so fun to go play these songs, to be honest. I mean, oh, what else did we do? I didn't even mention. So the second set is literally, it's like War Pigs, Rosanna, Bat Out of Hell, which I've never had to learn, and then what a slog that is. It's 10 minutes long. Bohemian Rhapsody, Eruption, Jump, Freebird, and we end with the And Golden Slumbers and Carry That Weight and Won't Get Fooled Again. I mean, that's just the second set. So it's like it's this epic walk through rock and roll. I mean, it's just like, and if you're and Thunderstruck, all on the second set. I got to play all that stuff. It's an ass kicker on the guitar. So, and I got 29 more nights to do it. We did 3 shows already, so it's 31 gigs. Sorry, 28 more nights. Was never strong with math. Tech 21 PSA version 2 little pedal. Did they bring one out? I only saw the Geddy Lee pedal, which looks really cool for bass. But yeah. Gary says the new PT15 looks good, Pete. Seen bits from Namm. Yeah, it's exact same amp, just without the load and headphone amp and all that. Load, IRs, headphone amp, those were all taken out. So for somebody that just wants a straight up 3-channel cool little tube amp, and I'll tell you this, so my rig on the tour is one PT15 IR, and I am running right to the PA. I'm no mic on the cab. I'm using an old school PT100 212 cabinet out here because there was no PT15 cab here, and Sir supplied me, the local fellow here, the international sales manager, Nigel. He's got a 212 cased and ready to go, and a head cased and ready to go. So I was able to use those. So that's what I'm using. I'm not using the official PT cab over here, actually, but it doesn't matter. It's just my onstage monitor, and it sounds great anyway. It's a great cab, 2 creamback H's. And I'm running the master on 4, the overall master, and the channel masters are anywhere from 3.5 to 4, depending on what channel. There's so much power in reserve, and it is loud enough. I mean, it's an older crowd for this because it's a classic rock gig. And there was a guy sitting in the front row the other day, and I've got my amp even angled like sideways so that it's not blasting, but this guy was getting a fair amount of the beam, and he was sitting there with his finger in his ear like this much of the night. Which, it's little things like that bum you out when you're on stage, right? You're like, oh shit, like I hope I'm not making this guy deaf, and you're trying to play Thunderstruck or something, right? It's like relentless for like 5 minutes of like just mid-range, and the old guy, he was probably nearing 70, and he's sitting there with his finger in his ear like this the whole time, So I can't play the amp any louder on the gig is the point, and it's loud enough actually. The drums are positioned sort of off center stage right because there's 2 risers with keys and drums, and so they're off. And I have enough hard time hearing actually bass and drums as it is, so I can't turn it up anymore. So for the thoughts about the power and stuff like that, I mean, for so many different kinds of gigs, I think it's going to be loud enough for a lot of people. It's a great test for it, but man, I have power in reserve. I could almost probably get it twice as loud as I'm playing it right now, apparent volume. Crazy to hear that you're playing Freebird. How do you approach the solo? Just exactly like it is on the record. So yeah, I had to. But you know what's funny about the Freebird solo? Like I learned it note for note, in other words, which is like, how do you even remember that? But you do after you play it a couple times. But you know what's funny is sometimes you forget which lick comes next, and then the other guy gets it, or I'll get it, and the other guy, James, he'll forget it. But it's kind of cool because on the record they cross over a little bit, and both parts don't. If you play it too tight and accurate, it sounds kind of like shit. You have to kind of have a little bit of that chaos going on in there, where if you don't remember what to do, you just bend a note for a minute and you hear the other guy go to the lick and then you go, oh yeah, and then you join in and it sounds like the album then. It's really cool. It's so much fun actually to play it live. I've never done it before and it's so much fun. Let's see. Jay Frockon is up in the top chat there and he says, finally caught you here. You are my go-to guy for gear demos. Glad you will do this. You're the man of the people. Thanks, man. Hey, I'm just a rock guitar nerd. We got 334 people online. I'm really stoked. And it's sorry, my eyes, God, they suck so bad. Fetids says, Freebird was amazing. Thanks, man. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And it's so much fun. It's so much fun to play. I'm actually having so much fun playing the stuff that I was the most worried about playing, like Bat Out of Hell and Freebird. And like, how am I going to remember this? And then once, it's an interesting thing. It's like, I don't know if you guys find this, but like no matter how many times you practice something on your own, you have to play it with a band. And you kind of have to play it in front of people for it to really lock in. And then it just goes, you do it, and then you're like, well, we did that. I guess that happened. And as long as it's not a train wreck, if there's a couple little things and you get it the next night, then all of a sudden it's in there. And then the Freebird thing was like that, definitely. I mean, the Freebird, it's like, I've never dreamed of learning that solo, but I did. And it's fun. I'll play my urine on it. That sounds great. Classic rock shows are loud because everyone in the audience is 60 and already mostly deaf. It's amazing, man, how you can look out at the crowd and there's a lot of older people out there, and that's great. I mean, I'm getting up there too, but you know what I mean. Like you always think of like, the concerts of your youth or whatever the crowd looked like or whatever. But you can look out and see people. And I'll see a lot of people and go, man, that person is getting up there and they're singing all the words to like AC/DC or like and they're totally into it, and it's really cool. And so I'm getting my head around the fact that we're all getting older, I guess, is all it is. The neat thing too is that people are so excited, and people that are getting older, they'll come, because there's younger people at the show too, but it is a lot older people. And the neat thing is that they will. I remember seeing my friend Brian Ray on the Paul McCartney documentary that he came out around 2003 back in the US, the concert movie. And Brian said that he looked out in the audience and he could look at the people and it was like they got younger for a minute. And I loved that quote that he said that, because that's what you're supposed to. I mean, as a musician, really your job is to go out and not impress and whatever. It's to make people happy, That's the thing. Everybody goes to a concert as a release. They want to go have fun. And or get into the music and feel something. Maybe it's not fun, but it's pleasure. They want to get something out of it. They want to feel something, whether it's sadness or be taken back to a place where it's just like. And I'll go to I look out at the people, and we can be playing. I mean, we do Comfortably Numb too in the first set. I get to play the first solo, and James plays the second one. And we're doing the kind of the pulse version, which is slow and really dirgy and kind of heavy. I play the big muff on the verses, like just big fat chords. And you see people out there just, there's these guys out there, and then the solo, they start going like this, like, you know what I mean? And it's cool, man. It's like, I don't know. It's neat to see. It's like going to church or something. It's like a religion, actually, moving people. So, speaking about I believe the Freebird solo, Jabig says it's a bit like it's being improvised. Yeah, I think they had a loose arrangement probably, and then just kind of went for it and got a cool take. And because they go to the same licks pretty much, but there are a couple times the guys get off from one another, but that, like, once again, that's part of the magic. It does sound like they've spent maybe 3-4 hours going over it or something, like maybe making it up and writing it in the studio, and then they took some takes and picked the best one. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. But anyways. How about a demo of your new Sir Aura? I don't have an Aura. That's from Roscoe. I still don't have one. I'd love to get one of these days. Waza headphones and Pete live. It's like having Pete in the room while jamming. So So I have my Waza headphones here, actually. I don't have a guitar in the room because I said uh, last night, my awesome tech Roger, I've got a great tech on this tour who used to work for Iron Maiden, and he's awesome. He tunes like spot on, man, and we never even had a discussion about it. His tuning, I don't know how he does it. He's better at it than I am, and I take tuning really seriously. And he hands me a guitar, and it is rock solid. And he's a kind of a grumpy, he's actually a really nice guy, but he sort of puts on the grumpy Englishman thing. He's a sweet guy, actually. And what was my point? Oh, he asked me after the show. He kept a guitar out for me for the day off, and I said, after 9 days on, I said, I don't even want to think about guitar tomorrow. And here I am, I'm doing this. But I said, I just don't want to see a guitar. I'm gonna take one day off from playing because my fingers are shredded, my hands are like, here's my Waza headphones, which if you guys haven't seen these were, just brought out recently. So they're Bluetooth, and they got built-in amp modeling and all that good stuff. And you plug, there's a little thing there where you can insert the wireless. But they're wireless. They got a little wireless thing, plugs into the guitar, it shoots to here, and then you can sit there and jam your guitar. So you charge up the phones and you charge up the pack, and away you go. And they sound great. And the amp modeling is all the Waza kind of models, and it's controlled by app from your phone. So it's pretty techy. I mean, you got to get on your phone and Bluetooth it up to change the sounds and stuff like that. But the reality is, when I plugged it in, the sound that popped up, which was like this clean ambient thing, sounded amazing. So it's pretty fun. Okay. What are you guys talking about? Is there a problem in the chat? Ben's having to do some moderation or something. Sorry, guys, if there's some BS going on, but I don't know. It's hard to see because, Ben handled it. Thank you, Ben. It's great that you're here. It's hard because the chat goes by so fast. I'm using my iPhone, so it goes by quick, and I miss messages. So, but Ben's on it because he's always here for me, and he's awesome. Everybody, check out Ben's chat tonight. He's got a live stream that he does, as I always try and give him some props. He's always here to help me out, and Sunday nights he does his from Canada. Somebody's asking me what muff I'm using for Comfortably Numb. So I'm using the Ryra one, Rock Your Repaired Amp. And it's the green one. That's like his, I think like his green big muff. Sounds great. It was like, I didn't know what I was going to use on it. And then I opened up a drawer at home and I had the Ryra one in there. Oh. And I think I made a video for that pedal a long time ago. I don't even remember if I actually made a video for that pedal, but I think I did. And I took it to work and I plugged it in. I was like, this sounds amazing. Sounded perfect. And I kind of went for the more like, I actually listened to his sound at Live at Pompeii, which had some modulation, because I believe there's flange, like Electric Mistress or something on, people say on the record there's flange and that, but I can't really hear it on that. But live, I heard it on this version. So I thought, why not? I'll just add it. And then I used in the Eventide H9, I can't remember if it's the space time or what, but in an H9, how there's like a combined mod reverb delay thing that's got, with 3 different effects or whatever. And I actually used one of those for the echo and the reverb. So I'm just using kind of a very simple, out of the H9 with a combined delay and reverb. And then I've got so my chain would be, I guess, big muff into the Mistress thing, which is not a Mistress, it's my Mobius on the Mistress setting, I think. I used the MXR flange because it sounded better to me. I think that's what I did. And then into the PT15 clean channel, and then into the Eventide in the loop. And that's my sound for that. It sounds really good. James has a pretty epic sound, and he dialed it up on the Axe Effects. He's using Axe Effects for the end solo, and he plays that long, epic end solo, and it sounds really good. But I'm enjoying actually just playing the chords like on that one because I get to play so much later in the show. It's so much going on. It's nice just to play the first solo, and then I get to play the fuzz. And it's actually really satisfying to just play fuzz power chords and with some ambience and lay into them for the whole end of that tune because it goes on forever. I mean, the solo goes on for like 10 minutes. Anyways, okay. Wow, we got 356 people online. This is awesome. Thanks you guys for being here. Hi from Texas, says Paul. Drummer says guitars are muddy in his in-ear mix. Any tips? 2-guitar band. Playing rock and roll Led Zeppelin. What he says is I'm using wedges. They sound okay in the room to me. Could be the sound of his in-ears. And the reality is sometimes I'll EQ my in-ears because I find in-ears, many of them do sound low MIDI and kind of muddy. So many times on a digital console, there will be an EQ that you can use on each mix. And I will go through and I'll actually pull out 250 hertz and 300 hertz and stuff like that a little bit and dip the low mids. So you can do that. And that'll help probably clean up his mix a little bit, depending on what in-ears he's got. They all sound different, so there's so many factors that could be affecting them. But you won't be able to just obviously change your guitar sound for his in-ear mix if it already sounds good in the house, because then it's going to sound different out front. But maybe he can just scoop a little bit of low mids out of his whole in-ear mix. I love doing that. I love kind of tweaking the it's like having a graphic on your whole mix where you can dial in the tone of your ears a little bit. So maybe suggest that. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Cool, the Waza headphones are out there. Need to get my local store to get a set and hadn't heard of them. Yeah, I got a really early set. They asked me to make a video for them while I was in Australia and check them out, and they wanted a first reaction video, and they said we'd be happy to get you a set if you make a video for them, and if you like them, of course. And I said sure, and I plugged them in, and then they managed to secure me a set this month and send them to me over here. The nice folks in the UK sent them to me. Pete, 70 is not old. I'm 67, play keyboards and guitar in a cover band and a blues band. It's only a number, says Phil. I love your attitude, and I appreciate it. I do. You're right. 70's not old. Keep on rocking. And thanks for doing the top chat. I appreciate it. You're right. 70 is the new 58. I'm gonna go. I kind of want more tea, but I'm just gonna use the old tea bag. Why not? I'm not gonna start a new one. I've only got a couple in this room. Let's heat up the kettle a little. Make some more. Okay. Let's see. Thank you guys. It's great to be here, says Dusteris Live. Ben Coombs says, or Tom is asking Ben Coombs if he's going to do shots with him tonight. I don't know. I guess they're going to party. Needs jimping says, I'm always interested in learning who accomplished musicians or a fan of or enjoyed listening to. What's your current playlist? What have I been listening to? Not a hell of a lot, to tell you the truth, because I've been learning so much music for this. So I was just really focused on the playlist that we were playing for the last few weeks. It was I kind of waited till late in the game to work on this music, so it was about 30 tunes. So it's all the kind of classic stuff that we've been playing. That's mostly what I've been listening to. But one thing, and I already talked about this, I got turned on to Rufus Black recently, which is this great band from over here, from the UK, that sounds like, I don't know, the Black Crowes meets Bad Company or something. The singer sounds a lot like Paul Rogers, really great, and the guitar player is really great, so check them out. And, I listen to a lot of different stuff, man. I'm a Billie Eilish fan, so I listen to all kinds of stuff. But, yeah, Rufus Black sounds great, says Kurt. They're so good. Really cool band. If somebody out there, I brought him up a few weeks ago on this live stream, but that's a new band that I got hip to that I was really into. Does anybody know what the new Jerry Cantrell signature Gibson is going to be? I heard, but I don't know if I'm supposed to bring it up or not. So I better shy away from that. But I do have an idea. Pete said teabag. I knew somebody was going to say that. Jay said that. So 60 is the new 47 and a half. Yeah, let's go with that. I'm going to go with 48 is the new 38. 60 is the new 47. Something like that. Gibson sure did have a good showing with a lot of guitars and Namm, says Kurt. That's what I hear. Seemed like I saw a lot of stuff coming out of there. It looks like they had a lot of performances. I saw tons of people at the Boss booth and the Gibson booth all watching the performances, and it seemed like it was a really great show, and I'm kind of bummed that I wasn't there. Man, I feel like I'm right on the edge of coming down with, like, I don't want to get sick. It'll suck if I get sick, but if I do, whatever. Just more of a challenge. Quick question: V30 versus G1275, GT1275 in live mix for lead. You know what's funny? I've always had a thing against the 75s, but I have played a couple cabs where I go, these don't sound that bad to me today. Generally, they got to be old cabs that are kind of beat up and ones that because the rental cabs that you get, if you don't specify, if you say, give me a Marshall cabinet, they've always got the 75s. And they're the cheapest, sort of most bare bones Marshall cabs. They're the default speaker. But the ones that probably were, rented out a lot and sent out on rental stuff, those are the ones that sound good to me because they're the most worn in. I would say that I'm a fan of the V30 just a little bit more than the 75. Neither of them are really my favorite. I really like, greenbacks. That's kind of my thing. But V30s have that upper mid cut. 75s have this sort of, they're a little bit more greenbacky or something, but they've got this cardboardy thing going on in the mids that I always hear. But like I say, a broken in set can sound pretty cool. So it just depends what you're doing. I hope I didn't miss somebody up there in the top chat. But what age did you start playing guitar? I was 10, I think. Who's your favorite drummer and why? Rest in peace, Neil Peart, definitely. My favorite drummers are generally the guys that play for the song. I love Bonham and somebody was trying to say, what's a great example of another drummer like Ringo? Oh, it was on the gear page. There was a thread I saw that came up about, like, who's a drummer that plays for the song. I would have to say, like, Mick Fleetwood. It's him when he plays. And some of those fills, like we played Dreams in the show. I love those fills that happen in the middle of the choruses. Always love you when I play. And you know what I'm talking about? And those great fills that he does. So unique. And yet they work and they're so musical. He kind of reminds me of a Ringo. So I love guys like that. But Neil, hey, I grew up listening to Rush, and Neil was always mind-blowing. And there's something about his, he was like an athlete back there. And usually I don't like music as sports, but there was something about Neil where it was also, I don't know, he had a lot of, for a technical drummer, there was a lot of heart in his playing. It was also thought out, but the guy was such a thinker that it was like he was putting everything in his playing, like his heart and soul was in, and it was in a different way than like a feeling drummer like Bonham or something would just like kind of wild, Neil was more like a scientist back there, but there was a lot of, what I mean, and not in like a, here I'm going to impress you with. I never felt like Neil was trying to impress with his chops. I felt like he was playing for the song, actually. Maybe that's what it is, in a Rush kind of way. Like I felt like they were trying to make great music, not show off. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's a hard thing to do, play technical music and not sound like you're showing off. Because I never felt like Rush were trying to show off. I'd never thought about it before. That's why I like doing this. You guys make me think of things differently. Let's see. Mark's looking for either a GT1000 or Line 6 Helix LT. Which one would I choose? Impossible to say. I'm a Helix guy. I love Boss too. Obviously, I've got my headphones here and stuff like that. But I've grown. One of the things I like about the Helix is just the interaction with the editor is great. I know how to use it really well. Like I can plug in a Helix and I can dial up a tone quicker than any other model or thing. I can dial, okay, this is when I want to get a stereo delay, and I want to get this going, to put an effect in front, USB up, make a preset, pull in an IR, do it. And there's the sound, boom, like that. It's generally pretty quick. So, yeah. Okay, what else we got here? Let's see. Ben's deleting messages from some weird guy. Thanks, Ben. You can just block them, dude, if you want. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way down to the bottom here. See what I've missed, because I'm pretty far up, I think. Yeah, the Helix template making process saves a ton of time for sure. Yeah, agreed. That's true. Row your boat gently down the live stream, says SD Design. I like that. Do you still use the Kemper? You know, I haven't in quite a while, and it's not for lack of, not digging it or something. I just haven't, but it's a great piece of gear, and I got to get it plugged in. More than anything, it's sitting there in my studio, but I just don't. I haven't actually plugged it into my patch bay, so it's a little bit more of a pain to get it hooked up. I need to actually just get it wired up so that I can easily patch into it as easy as I can my other stuff. That's all. And I still think it's a really good piece of gear, and I always quite enjoyed playing through it. I'd like to get back into it again. Just checked in to Aux Tones and Techniques panel with Corey, Brett, Papa, and Butch Walker. Oh, that's cool. I like Butch. That's Kurt LeBlanc saying that. Butch Walker's really cool. My friend plays bass with him, actually. My friend Why Not is in his band. What else we got here? Pert plays the changes. He knew them so well, he did not have any guitars in his monitor. He didn't? Is that true? Paul Ewing said that. You mean he didn't listen to Alex? Really? That would surprise me. I mean, I know he knows the parts, like, his parts are purely composed. When he went in the studio, Matt Scannell from Vertical Horizon, one of the only sessions Neil ever did for anybody was for Vertical Horizon. And Matt said that he came in the studio, and no, it wasn't actually Matt that told me this. It was the bass player. I'm forgetting his name. Sean Hurley. And he was doing that session. He used to be the bass player in Vertical Horizon. Now he's gone on to play with Mayer and tons of different people. He's a session guy, very busy. But he was the bass player on the session. He said that they played the song through, and then Matt decided to make some changes to I decided to change the bridge around and do this and that. And Neil was like a little thrown off by that, like pretty flustered. Like, what do you mean? Like, I already wrote my part. But once they figured out whatever they were going to do, Neil, played it in one take. I think they did a take and it was perfect. Just one. Okay, here we go, and then he just laid it down. So Keith Carlock is a great drummer. I know Keith. That's Alan. Keith went to school with my buddy John Button, North Texas, and then Keith. I saw Keith play with Sting many years ago. He was great. He was awesome, and he actually got me tickets to go to the Hollywood Bowl and go see. I saw Sting at Hollywood Bowl with Annie Lennox opening, and that was because Keith. He's a nice guy. I haven't talked to that guy in a long time though. But anyways, what else we got going on here? Steven says, when you're playing sessions live in LA, do you have help carrying your stuff? It depends on the session. Like you're asking about cartage. If it used to be there'd be cartage, so that they'd come pick up all your gear from the studio, and the way it would work is, and I sort of missed the boat on all this because I was never really one of these guys, but some guys were, and I did some sessions with the guys that were, like for instance, Rusty Anderson. I remember doing a session for Leanne Rimes once with what's his name, Desmond Child producing at Henson Studios in LA, and I remember, which might have still been called A&M then. And I remember Rusty had come in and played some guitars the day before. Rusty Anderson, who plays McCartney now, And I got to the studio and all Rusty's stuff was set up. And I thought, man, I better get some more stuff. I don't look too impressive. Because Rusty had 112 cabinet, 212 cabinet, 412 cabinet, combos, like all lined up in a row. And obviously his, some cartage came to. Cartage in LA is like, many times you've got like an independent person that you hire to do it, or sometimes like Lon Cohen Studio Rentals or these different companies where certain players will store their gear. You'll have a gear locker there, and then there might be somebody there that also works that knows your stuff, almost like a tech, or you might have your own person. So maybe Lon Cohen Studio Rentals carts the stuff from your storage locker over to the studio, and then your tech shows up and sets it all up, or maybe somebody from Lon Cohen sets it all up because they know your stuff. It's different for every guy. And drummers have this a lot too, because obviously drummers, it's a lot of stuff all the time to bring all the kits and stuff. But this has kind of gone the way of the dinosaur a little bit. I mean, it still happens to some degree, but it's like, it used to be the norm, and now it's more like people flying in tracks or showing up with a Kemper and 2 guitars or whatever, or people, if it's a session where you're going down to the studio, it's just all changed. It's just, that harkens back to the days when everybody used to record in real studios, and you needed all your stuff there because the producer might, and there was a budget from a label, and so you could afford to have it all there. And ask Tim Pierce about it. It's like, you'd show up with 15 guitars and a resonator and a dobro and a 12 string just in case you needed it, and everything under the sun, and all your accessories and 5 different amps and cabinets and all the different stuff. It's all changed. So, but it still happens occasionally. So, the olden days. Like I say, I was never really a part of that, but I did a little bit of it, like sessions. I was mainly a live guy. I was out touring and stuff, and it was always like, oh, you want to get to that level that, Landau's at, and Michael Thompson, and folks like Rusty Anderson and Lyle Workman, and these different players that would get these sessions, Tim Pierce, and then that all kind of started going away, and none of us ever got the opportunity to get to that. And then lo and behold, all of a sudden, a lot of those guys started going on the road again because all the money was in live playing, because the record budgets went away. So it's like, wait a minute, now everybody's touring. Used to be in the studios. Tom says, doesn't Dave Friedman drive gear? What's that? Hire gear for California. Dave Friedman, hire gear. I think you're asking if Dave started working at Andy Brower's, I think, doing cartage when he first got to LA. I mean, that was, obviously he doesn't do that anymore. He's a successful amp company owner and rockstar amp builder and stuff, and rig builder. But he started out doing cartage. He would, Lukather, I think he was doing cartage for him for a while, bringing his gear to sessions and stuff like that. And I think he learned a lot doing that. Because, he'd show up and set up all Luke's stuff, and then he'd get to sit there sometimes and watch while Luke was like cutting solos on some Madonna record or whoever it was, Bridge and neck are up, Tad, under the top of the ring. Must be somebody talking about themselves. I love chicken, says Robert. I'm not so into chicken. It's a little boring, I think. Yeah, if I never ate chicken again, I'd be fine. Sasha Boo Boo's in the top chat. He says, soundtrack composition and commercials. Any potential work there, or do they have the same go-to composers and writers? Have you ever wanted to quit or question your talent? So kind of 2 questions. Have I ever wanted to quit or question my talent? I think we all question our talent, but that's what I'm saying, like about taking this gig that I'm on right now, where I felt like you get a little fire under your ass, where it's like, it's a good thing to question your talent and always know that there's more to learn. I question my talent all the time, actually. Yeah. Wanted to quit? Not really, because I love it so much, Occasionally, I'm like, where you have a bad day and you're like, screw this. But I never really feel that way, like in my heart, I don't know how to do anything different, I have no idea how to do anything different. So wanting to take little twists and turns in a career path, sure, like, maybe, to wind down touring and things like that at some point, sure, I could see that. Or, things like, yeah, I'm not so sure I want to do an original band where I got to go out and make $500 a week and get in a van and tour around, even if it's got a major label behind it and stuff like that. Things like that when you hit your 30s and you're like, I don't think I got any more of these van tours in me. you know, and you make little tweaks in your career. So I've had those moments for sure. But soundtrack composition and commercials, any potential work there? I'm sure there is. It's not really my world. A lot of it ends up being back end, and I've tried to do a little bit of it. A little while ago, I was like doing a little bit of work for, it's actually J.J. Abrams' company, and there was a nice fellow that was hiring me to, but it was like a lot of work up front where you'd have to go in and maybe write kind of what I do for the demo videos. Like where he liked me because he liked my demo videos and stuff. He's like, this guy writes a lot of music, and I'd hoped at some point somebody would recognize that maybe from that world. Like J.J. Abrams is a big deal, you know. And then maybe I could get into writing for, you know, be it commercials, film, TV. So there were some shows that, you know, were coming out that and he said, yeah, I could see, you know, getting, and they have a nice facility in Santa Monica and nice studio there, and I would go down there and work with him occasionally and, you know, work up these tracks and stuff like that. But it's all kind of back end money, and back end money can be, as people out there, anybody that does it knows, it's like you can wait years, you know. And it was like the difference between doing that and be able to say record a demo video for Boss or something, and you know, and then send in you know, invoice and, you know, be paid for your work or whatever it was. To me, it was like I don't see, like I can't keep going and doing this, you know, week after week, because I went there, you know, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 times, something like that, and it was like I can't. You got to understand, in LA, it's like literally driving from Studio City, which is where I was at the time, to Santa Monica. It's an all day. It's an all day affair. So it's like you're taking one day a week to go somewhere and drive. And in order to break into that, you would have to do that, and you would have to go all the time. But it's like, hey, I got bills to pay. So, anyways, I don't. My answer is I don't really know, but sure, there's opportunities out there for film and TV and advertising and music and stuff, but it's not really any. I'm not in that world. So, somebody's mentioning Blue Saraceno. He's really in that world. I guess I could talk to him about it because we speak quite a bit actually lately. We talk at least once a month or something and have a good. He hits me up and we talk gear, and I love that guy. I mean, he's a great guy, and he's got a great style on guitar, obviously, and he's had a great career. So he's local Studio City guy. Uh, yeah. Okay, what else we got here? Church's chicken is good, says September Fire. um, how's the UK, says Jim. Well, it's good. It's a little like, it's not that cold, actually. I was going to say it's a little cold. It's not that cold compared to like New York or something. I mean, I can see my breath when I walk outside, but there's no snow. I came here from New York, actually, and it was quite a bit colder there and snowing. Um, and somebody says, you question your talent, you're so established. You know, man, I think that the best people question their talent. Um, sometimes it comes across as confidence, or sometimes it comes across as people being pissed off, or sometimes it comes across as ego, or some, I don't know, or like you know what I mean, like, but different people generally, it's let's just all call it a degree of insecurity or fear. uh you know, without naming names, some of the biggest people I've known, which are some of the biggest musicians, you know, in the world that have ever, you know, when it comes to rock and roll music or pop music or whatever, they're all like that. They all question, and they all are have a fear of uh what's the phrase that I've heard recently called? It's like imposter syndrome. It's common, man. I mean, it's really common. And it maybe gets harder the bigger you get or the more success you get, because it's like, well, now I have to perform up to this level that people think they expect that I'm going to do. And there's, with social media and cameras always being stuck in your face and stuff like that, there's no room for, because, you know, everybody's ready to just, I mean, look at the trolls in my own thing here, you know, everybody's ready to just jump in and take the piss if they can, you know. There's an English expression. So there's that constant, which makes it kind of, you know, there's always that pressure there, I guess, because it's like people want to see you fail. You know how it is. I mean, you look at you know, the drama. Everybody loves drama, you know, and it's so ridiculous, you know, at the core of it. But it's kind of the society we've built too, because we build up people, and then you know people love to build people up, and then a certain segment loves to tear them down and stuff, and they feed on it, you know. So it just kind of is what it is. I don't know if there's any answer to it, but anyways, you always want to be on your game and stuff like that. And anytime you always want to be on your game, and if you're playing difficult, I mean, like it's hard to play Eruption every night, you know, or whatever. Like I say on this tour, I never did it. And it's like, I don't want to go out and not play it up to the level that people saw me doing that video 10 years ago, you know? I want to go out and like kick ass on it, and it should sound great. And so I feel that pressure every night where it's like, my hands better be, I gotta be warmed up for the second set, and I gotta have the tone right, and I gotta, you know, I better be dialed, because it's like, I don't want to go suck on that, or be, you know, because if you're a little off, it could be like, or you break a string, or like whatever. It's like, and of course, shit happens, you know, but people don't really see it that way. You just know. And believe me, every big performer out there, they get affected by the YouTube comments, and they get affected by the people, don't, you know, the trolls and the, you know, it's, you can, as much as people say, oh, I don't look at it or whatever, I try not to. I mean, I try not to. I'm actually pretty like, I don't really look at that much stuff like that. It doesn't really bother me that much, but it sure bothers me a little bit, you know. So it's like, and I know that if there was like, you know, I feel that. Like, don't you guys feel that stuff? Like, you feel like, you know, you put up a gig, doesn't matter who you are. If you play gigs at your local pub and you put up something online and somebody says something shitty, it's kind of, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's human nature, right? So, anyways, it's just the kind of, it's the situation we've created for ourselves. I don't know, with social media. Blue Saraceno worked with Music Man a lot. Yeah, that's true. He's really good friends with the, it's kind of a family thing. I mean, with the Ball family and Blues. I think he was from the same area as San Luis Obispo, right up there in Central Coast, California. And so, anyways, anybody who trolls into anonymity is not worth a second thought. Just basement dwellers with Northumbria better to do. I like that. Siri, maybe. Northumbria with nothing better to do. That's true, man. That's force user. I totally agree with you, but by the same token, it still just is a, you know, it is what it is, you know. Peace and love and music, man, says Pamela. I agree. Two folks up there in the top chat says, love the acoustic gig video. Thanks. Yeah, I just put out a video for the Carl Martin acoustic gig, the last one I did for Namm stuff. I looked for the pedal and couldn't find much. They just brought it out. Wondering about using it with Irish Bouzouki. Is the pedal out yet? Yeah, it's a brand new release. So, like, just came out, like, I think they brought it out like a week or two before Namm, actually. But, you know, it's made in Denmark, and what that means, like, when they'll ship it to people, I'm not exactly sure. So, but it is cool. It'll probably be great for that. It's got a tuner built in and everything you need to probably kind of dial it in, compressor and everything. So probably be a good choice. I was thinking for, you know, mandolin, a bunch of different things. SD Design says Martin guitar sounded great, I guess, in that video. Yeah, I thought so too. Through that box, thought it sounded really good. It's got LR Bags pickup in it. Can you share the set list for this classic rock show? By the way, spoke to Sir about the multi-voltage thing and have a PT15 IR on order now, says Andrew Morgan. That's awesome that you have one on order. Yeah, I don't know. The multi-voltage, I think what you're talking about is multi-voltage, you know, power taps and stuff. I guess it's a nightmare for CE approval and stuff. I think in the EU and like the different, you know, it's really, really difficult, I guess, to do the multi-voltage thing and not fall outside of the law when it comes to all the different regions that you have to ship amplifiers to and stuff. And John's very concerned with that stuff. A lot of amp makers aren't, to be honest. And a lot of the, you know, boutique and people, they'll sell things, but they're not, technically you could get busted by the authorities, and that could really screw you up, because all of a sudden you won't be able to sell your products that you've shipped to, you know, Europe and stuff. And Sir errs on the side of caution when it comes to that stuff. So I believe that is the thing with multi-voltage power transformers. But I'm speaking a little bit out of turn, but I think that's the real reason that they like to stay well within the laws and stuff, so they don't run into problems with the authorities. Yeah. Who else we got here? Don't you think? Oh, what do I think of the BK Butler tube driver? Uh, never really got that pedal. I haven't experimented with it enough, but I don't really understand how to use it. Maybe it's supposed to be run into an amp that's already crunchy or something, and then layer it on top. I don't know. I don't. It's one overdrive that I don't. I like. You talk about a fuzz face or a big muff, or a tube screamer, or a DS1, or like all those different pedals. I have this really clear idea, even a rat, of what they sound like in my head. Tube driver. Never owned one. Don't really have a clear idea of what it is supposed to do, or the sonic. You know. David is in the top chat. He says HX Stomp as IR with Hedgehog and reactive load. Sure, it'd work great. I like to mess with effects before the amp and not just after, but the Stomp's effects loop is either line or instrument. Can amp input see line level? Probably not, but if you're going to use it for IRs anyway, you need to run it after. So you must just resign yourself to this. The other thing you can do is you can take the reactive load out into the Stomp and then just keep the level low enough that you don't clip the Stomp or whatever, but which should be pretty easy to do. So to be like running your effects, and you could also run your effects in parallel, which would be a really cool way to do it. If you want to use the HX, oh no, you couldn't, sorry, because you're using it for IRs, never mind. So yeah, you'd have to run it in series, but you could run it just on the, you wouldn't want to run it in effects loop anyway, so for the configuration you're talking about using HX Stomp for IRs, you would have to run it on the output of the Sir reactive load. I assume you're talking about the original one with no IRs. Just run the line out of that. Just take the unbalanced line out right into the input of the Stomp, and then you can add some reverb, delay, and impulse response. Put the IR block first, obviously. Yeah. Let's see here. Somebody who's in says they're going to be hopefully see me in Cambridge on Friday. If they get their car back from the repair garage in time, please come out. I hope you make it. Let's have some fun. I do feel like I'm getting sick. Shit. Are you kidding me? The bus the last few nights has been a little tough as far as the air is really dry on the bus. And you wake up and you're like, feel it back of your nose and stuff, but I've got a little bit of a thing going on. Just feeling it, like low level, not great respiratory BS. Which when you're on a bus full of people in the cold UK, I guess it's just the norm. Hey Peter, your H9 is connected only by MIDI cable or in a Musicom Lab loop. Nope, it's just MIDI. So the effect send comes out of the PT15, it goes into the first H9, then goes to the Boss DD500, then goes to the second H9, then goes back out to the amp. And I have one of the H9s, the first one, is in relay bypass, and then the DD500 and the second one are in DSP bypass. So I'm not running through the one if I'm not using it. The first one in line. Hope that makes sense. And then I don't get too much ADD and all that stuff going on. Eben is up in the top chat. He says, how would you suggest one approach tone making, and would you recommend making tones using headphones or studio monitors? Well, it depends on what you're doing with the end result. I use both. I mean, sometimes I'll work on things in headphones, sometimes I'll work on studio monitors, sometimes through a guitar cab. You want to ultimately listen to it probably in the way that you're going to be listening to it if it's just for your own enjoyment, do it through the headphones if that's the main way you're going to listen, or through the studio monitors if that's the way you're going to listen. If you're going to be doing it, making sounds for sessions and things, you want to hear the thing that is going to be, you know what I mean? Like, so it depends on your end, I would say the number one thing is try to the best of your ability to dial in a sound up to level and in as close to if it's in a work situation, as close to the real thing as you can. So you're setting things like effect levels and delay feedback and things like based off of, if there's going to be other instruments playing and stuff, you need to kind of, you know what I mean? You really need to dial in those things, like with all the elements. So if there's going to be drums going on and bass, try and dial it in with the drums and bass, or simulate it as best you can, because it'll all change when you get in a band situation. Even last week, when I went in and started rehearsing with the band, I'd made all these sounds for all these different songs, and I had to tweak effect levels and think, oh, there's way too much reverb, or not enough reverb, or whatever, like for certain songs that I'd done in my studio. Hollywood actress says, "Hey Pete, a top tip is if you need to take paracetamol, which is the version of Tylenol that they sell here in the UK. I do believe they sell it with caffeine so you can help keep you a bit strong if you're working." That's good advice. I will check that out. I'll probably get some tomorrow. I have a little ibuprofen, actually. That's all I have. I don't think I brought any cold medicine with me. So if I do get sick, we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Do I find it hard to get good sounds out of the Cab M compared to the aux, says Braxall. Well, the Cab M can be an IR host. So, if there's a certain impulse response that you like from Celestion or Ownhammer or anything, you can always load it in there and use that. If you're talking about using the internal kind of cabs from Two Notes, I to be honest, I love the Two Notes guys and stuff, and that's a great unit. But yes, I do actually find it a little bit, for whatever reason, just the workflow, finding a cabinet I like, using their boutique and all that. To me, it is a little bit more difficult, I would say. But there's some I found that I really like. For example, there's a greenback one, which, I'm a greenback aficionado, and when I made a video for the Cab M, I discovered I really like the Nuno Betancourt Randall 412, his signature 412 that had a greenbacks in it. That sounded really good to me, with I think a 421 on it, which is not a mic I would normally like by itself. Sometimes it sounds great blended with a 57, but that particular IR from them just worked. I thought it sounded really good. But it is a little bit more. I find one of the things with them is so many different cabinets. I can get a little option anxiety. Whereas with the aux, you want a greenback, you pull up the two different 412s, try a couple different mics, off axis. Yeah, sounds pretty good right there. It's a little bit quicker and there's not so many options. So it just depends. Let's see. There's a bad head cold going around in England at the moment, says Gary. Oh, I don't want that. Nothing worse than bus flu, dude. Get some Berocca in you, says Tommy. What's that? Is that like some herbal remedy? We were going to go to the movies tonight, and I'm on the fence now whether or not I should do that. What time is it anyway, guys? Check the time. Make sure. It must be about 8:18 here, something like that, or so, or 8:14. That's my guess. Or 24. I don't know what time it is. Sorry. What else we got here, guys? Happy Sunday, Pete Thorn, says Old Guy's Guitar Vlog. Have I had a chance to try the new Sir Ombre? You know what? I never did. I saw it many times as John was working on it. It was a real labor of love for him. For those that haven't seen it, it's basically John's version of a brown face deluxe, which he believes was used on that amp design, was used on the first two ZZ Top albums, he thinks. A great tone. The brown face amps, and not tweed and not blackface, they got their own thing going on. And some would say, I think there's a sort of consensus that they're kind of aggressive in kind of a Marshall sort of way in some ways. They're not as clean as a blackface amp, a little bit middier. Brian Setzer is a famous user of the brown face. I think he used Showman's or maybe Baseman's, can't remember. But anyway, You know, they were only out for a couple of years, but really really cool amps, and some of them have a presence circuit in them, not the deluxe, I don't think, but which is interesting. So maybe in that way they're a little more like a Marshall. I don't know. I have to ask somebody like Dave Friedman or John. But anyway, John always loved the guitar tone on the first two ZZ Top albums, so he wanted to make that amp for a long time. It's a very simple amp, and it comes in at a really nice price. I think it's the most inexpensive Sur amp that they've ever been able to bring out. Maybe next to the Corso. The Corso was pretty cheap, I think. But yeah, I look forward to trying it and checking it out. You know, it seems like probably a really cool, you know, simple couple knobs, turn it up, rock and roll. Yeah, yeah. I never plugged into it while I was out there. I wish I had. He had it done. Like actually, maybe the last time I was there, he said it's done. And I said let's turn it on. And I guess that's a big deal. Like when you're an amp designer and it's like the first time you turn it on, like is anything gonna blow up or like, you know? And so he says no. It's like a superstition thing. No, I can't turn it on yet. Maybe on Monday. You know, this was on like a Thursday or something. So he held off on that. Anyways. For your ideal setup, would you use a lot of digital units like Helix, or would you try and stay as analog as possible, says Nick. I generally speaking, I like tubes and analog and then just sprinkling the digital stuff in there where it works best. You know, that's kind of what you see me do, like in the effects loop of the amp or the Mobius I use and love it. Most of the pedals on my board are all analog stuff, I guess. But and I still use a tube amp, but obviously I embrace the IR thing and have it in my amp and everything. So on where it works best, that's where I'll use it. I feel like if it's my ideal rig. Sometimes I will use an all digital thing depending on the gig. Yeah. Well, let's see. We're about 71 minutes. I'm going to go to about 75 minutes. I'll go about it in 5 minutes or something like that, guys. And then I'm going to split. And, I'm just going to figure out if I'm going to the movies or not, or just bundle up and take care of myself here, so I don't feel that hot, and go into another run of gigs here pretty quick. Starting tomorrow night. What do I think about NOS tubes on Plexi amps? I recommend them, specifically in your Sur. What's your favorite brand for pre and power? Well, like my SL68 has, and I've got probably different tubes in my 50 watt. My 50 watt Marshall 72, 71 or 72 has EH 6 CA7 reissues in it, which I think sound really good. And the preamp, I can't remember exactly what I got in there right now, but I think in the phase inverter it's a long plate Sylvania, one of those black plate Sylvania tubes. And then in the other two positions, I think there might be, oh god, I can't say it because I just don't remember, to be honest. I want to say probably have a Mullard in V1, and then I can't remember if it's a new old stock or not in V2. It might be a Tesla that I put in there, like an old Tesla, but I'm making that up because I actually can't remember what I ended up with. Now, in the SL68, I know I've got a Bugle Boy in V1 that's been in there forever, a Mullard in V2, and in V3 is a Sovtech LPS, which work great as phase inverter tubes, I find. I really like the sound in Marshalls of long plate phase inverter tubes. Back when I was really geeky and I used to mess with this stuff a lot more, I listened to that and I was like, oh, they sound really good. And like I had a couple new old stock long plate tubes, and then I would try the LPS and I was like, it sounds good too. So anyways, and what are the output tubes? I think it's just got EHs in it right now, my SL68. I had Teslas in there, and one of them was bad, or like I had old Teslas I'd bought, and they weren't great. They were supposed to be a match quad, and one of them went eventually, and wasn't. Anyways, so I think it's just EHs in there right now. So I've got EH power tubes in both my. We switched to EH at Sur, actually. By the way, they switched a while ago to their EL34s because they're way more reliable than the JJs. The JJs were having a bad run of them. And I like the sound better anyway, and I think kind of everybody does. John likes them, and actually Dave Friedman switched them too, and he likes them. I remember years ago that from Top Hat Amps, Brian Gerhard saying he liked them. the EHs, and he liked the sound, especially when they distorted more than the not Sovtek, more than the what was the ones that were all the rage for a while, the Russian Svetlana tubes. You know, they're now not made anymore. Everybody always used to rave about those. And he said, "Yeah, I don't like them. I like the EHs." And I was like, "Really?" And then he found two sets matched, and we tried them on my top hat and Plexi store, cranked it right up. And he goes, "Listen how the distortion character kind of them when you turn up the amp really loud." And I agreed with them. I remember that always. I go, "Oh, yeah, they do sound better." Like the Svetlana's just had kind of a blah sound to them compared to the EHs, and the EHs were just kind of nice and warm. They're a cool thing. What's the dry bell unit 76 on your board for? Some specific tones? I do use it on a few things. I use it on like on the End by the Beatles. What is my sound on that? I'm running. I think I'm using the Bogner Blue, but then I boost it at the end for the solos, like the 3-part solo part. I hit the dry bell on, and I've been turning it on Bohemian Rhapsody in front of the rhythm channel, the PT15, to boost and I kind of use the Range Master thing a little bit, just for a little bit of that Brian May flavor. And anytime I just want to get a little more gain, I just turn it on, like, because it's got that slightly mid boost and a little bit of compression, a little bit of clean boost going on. So I just, to be honest, I like didn't. It was the last thing that I put on the board, and in that slot, I needed to put a pedal just to pass signal through, because it's not in a loop. There's 2 pedals on the board, the freak out and the one whatever's in that position, that come, and then it goes into the wah and then into the switcher. So I needed to put something there, and I thought, well, I'll just put a boost there that I can kick on if I need it, and I like that dry bell. So, and it's actually coming like I say, Bohemian Rhapsody. It works really well, and also for that Beatles tune when I want a slightly snotty boost in the front end, just to get. It's got to be Beatles gain, not like, you know, it's not supposed to sound like AC/DC or something, but so it's kind of that, you know, clean, you know, but with a little bit of something on it. So I just hit that pedal, and it works really good. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quick. One day the tubes factories will close down and tubes will become very precious. Yes, that's true. But hopefully not any time in my lifetime. I hope they keep making them. Let's see. The tubes are so cool. Fee Waybill. I just met that guy a while ago. I went to the show at the Whiskey. It was fun. Let's see here. Who else we got here? Are you still playing with 9.5 gauge strings, says Tom? Yes, using the Primo Slinkies from Ernie Ball. Love them. Tube tester is an excellent investment if you're going to use tube stuff, says Mute That Bozo. Well, everybody, I'm gonna go and maybe go see. I hadn't seen Star Wars yet, so thought I'd go. It's gonna be kind of an band outing, and why not, you know? So everybody have a great week. Next week, I don't know where the hell I'll be, but I'll, like I usually do, I'll put it on my Facebook page, and like day before or whatever, I'll just say, hey, I can do it at 11 a.m. if I can make it. Hopefully I can, because it seemed like this was good, and there was lots of people online, 300 to 350 for the whole time, so I appreciate you guys being here, and wish me luck this week. I have a bunch more gigs under my belt by the next time I see you guys, and hopefully a few stories or something. And come out and see me for, you know, it's all up on, it's the Classic Rock Show. Just do Google search for them. All the dates will be up on their site. A lot of them are sold out already, I think, but there's tickets for some shows available. So, you know, there's be at least probably 4 or 5 this week, I think. So coming up. So come out and see me if you guys are in the UK. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun walk through memory lane. Get to see me do my best to do some justice to some classic guitar riffs and tones and all that. Having a lot of fun out here with these guys. So thanks for hanging, Ben Coombs. I really appreciate it. Everybody check out Ben's live stream tonight. And that's Mr. Ben Coombs. And can't thank you guys enough for being here again. Always fun. I look forward to this every time. And this is number 102 or 101? 101 this week, I think. Next week will be 102. And it's still just as fun as the first day for me. So, did I play in New York before going to England? No, I didn't, actually. I was doing some other work there. That's Oscillation Overdrive. Steve says, shred, my brother. Right on. I'll do my best. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Over and out.